Welcome to Magic the Gathering Standard on Arena with Logan and Kelly. That's me. Today we're going to be talking about some of the Strixhaven stuff that will be coming out, how it's going to be affecting the standard meta, and then we're going to jump into, I think we've got Major Pauly. Is that you, Jace? Or are we going to be playing against you today? And then just doing some random pub matches as well, trying to grind our way up the ladder with some of the decks that we've built. I see that does not seem to be working. Okay, yeah, let's jump over to the screen and let's talk about some Strixhaven cards.
As you can see, the main colors that we have this set are red white, red blue, blue green, black white, and black green. So that's Boros, Izzet, Simic, Orsov, and Golgari. I almost forgot that one.
It's almost like we're back on Ravnica, huh?
It is, kind of. Which is going to play an extremely big part, as we already have a lot of blue-green stuff and blue-green support over the past couple of sets. Gilded Goose, for example, is one that green has access to, and it's been really good. So for this set, I've actually got a couple that I wanted to pull out. One of them being, let's see, I've actually got my list. Devastating Mastery, which I believe is a white card. Oh, that is the wrong one. Yeah, Devastating Mastery. It says it's 4 white and 2. It's a sorcery spell. You may pay 2 white rather than pay this spell's mana cost. If the 2 white was paid, the opponent chooses up to 2 non-land permanents they control and returns them to their hand. Otherwise, you destroy all non-land permanents if you didn't pay it. That is, for those of you who don't know the card, Planar Cleansing. But you can pay it. You can play it sooner. Now, so the big thing with Planar Cleansing was you had to wait until you got to 6 mana.
Right.
Now you don't.
Yeah.
The only downside to that is your opponent gets to choose what they return to their hand and what they lose. So if they only have 2 permanents, it's not doing anything. So it is very situational.
At least it is still returning at least 2 permanents to your hand for 4 mana, or to opponent's hand for 4 mana, and it really is just an answer to those decks that are putting out ridiculous amounts of tokens. You just put them all away.
Yeah.
Just put them all away. I really like the Mastery cards.
I do.
The Mastery card that stuck out to me from the list is Baleful Mastery.
The black one.
Yes. So Baleful Mastery for 3 colorless and 1 black. It's exile target creature or planeswalker, but you may pay 1 colorless and a black rather than pay the mana cost. And if you do, the opponent gets to draw a card. So it does allow the opponent to draw a card, which is, never a great thing to happen, but 2 mana to remove a planeswalker or a creature that's really causing a problem on your side early in the matchup. It's just super powerful.
Yeah. One thing that's really big, and you have to talk about them anytime that anytime there's a set, the lands that we have in Standard.
Exactly.
So these that we're getting here, for those of you who didn't play back in Shadows over Innistrad and Eldritch Moon, those of you would not have been around for the show lands or the lands that require you to show a basic of that land's specific colors to your opponent, and it come in untapped. So like the red-white one requires you to show them either a mountain or a plains, and it will come in untapped, or you can not show them and it comes in tapped. So it says mountain or plain, so if you are playing other dual lands like the snow lands that are both mountain and plains or island and whatever, these work with these lands. So you can show them that tap snow land and this comes in untapped. So getting mana super quickly, like having your dual lands enter untapped, is super relevant and always has been and always will be. So the fact that we get the other half of these lands is super important. Then we have one, it's a rare land, it's called the Biblioplex. It taps to add colorless, or you can 2 tap it, look at the top card of your library. If it's an instant or sorcery card, you may reveal it and put it in your hand. If you don't put the card in your hand, you may put it into the graveyard. Activate only if you have exactly 0 or exactly 7 in hand. So, for certain decks, I think this might be okay, but with the standard landscape about to change, we could see decks run it. We could see decks not run it. It's one of the ones that I'm kind of on the fence about. It just really depends on if there is anything that just churns through their hands or something like that.
And so we also have a couple of scry lands that'll be coming out that are obviously coming to play tapped. You have the ability to pay 4 mana, tap them, and then scry 1. They are in all the color combinations that we were talking about earlier. I do like the show lands a lot. As of right now, I believe there's no dual lands aside from the modal dual lands that you can play that will be untapped when they come into play.
Yeah.
But this opens up the door to having a white or red mana or dual mana open on turn 1, which is super powerful in a lot of different decks.
Yeah.
Especially with Frostbite being so nice right now.
Yeah. And one thing you'll see with like the blue-green one, for example, is if there's anything that plays Gilded Goose, they're going to get to play it on turn 1 again. When Guilds and Ravnica Allegiance were legal, you had Breeding Pool that was legal. They shock it in, they make a Gilded Goose, and then they're just off to the races because they'll have 3 mana on turn 2 if they hit their land drop. So blue green being able to play fast mana again's super relevant. So that's going to be something. And then these other color combinations really needed this fast land more so than others. And I'm really glad to see that red blue got one and red white got one.
Yeah. What's Jay saying in the chat here? Auric Lore Mage is great too. Let's check it out. Auric Lore Mage, 2 colorless, 2 black, Human Warlock. Search your library for a card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle. If it's an instant or sorcery, put a +1/+1 counter on Auric Lore Mage. Huh. So it's a tutor for something that goes into your graveyard, which is, not bad at all, honestly, in a format where we can bring some things back from the graveyard pretty easily.
And that's not something that you see a lot in Standard, is something that will tutor something to put it into the graveyard.
Yeah.
So I do have a feeling that would be relevant, especially with Unchained being a thing.
Right.
So being, Escape being a mechanic. So being able to put things with Escape into the graveyard from the deck. So that's extremely huge. Professor Onyx, legendary planeswalker Liliana.
Welcome back, babe.
Yeah. Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So a mechanic there that we see a lot of. Well, not a lot of, but we do see the life gain, life drain. Usually applies to black and white color schemes. +1, you can lose 1 life. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 1 into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. That's really good. That is extremely good. So basically it's Anticipate, but instead of them going to the bottom of the library, they go into the graveyard.
So it's kind of like the Anticipate card that was Surveil instead of actually put it. Yeah. So super strong again. It does look like there's a lot of cards that are placing things into the graveyard. I'd be interested to see if in the next set we get a Reanimator return.
And I think we were talking about that last time I was on. That's something that you don't usually see in Standard. Reanimate decks just aren't a thing, just because that is something that proven in Eternal formats has always been super strong, and I can see why they wouldn't want to put that into Standard. But me being a big Reanimator person, I'm super excited for that.
Yeah.
Let's see, what was the lands? Test of Talents, I believe, is blue. I've actually got a lot of cards on here that are blue. Test of Talents. I don't know if I passed it or not. Test of Talents right here. It's an uncommon. Counter target instant or sorcery spell. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the exact same name as that spell, and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each exiled from their hand this way.
I love it. I love it. I don't care that they get to draw 4 cards. It's so powerful to shutting down combo decks.
Yeah.
That it's just gonna have to be, at least a 2 of, if not a 4 of, in every deck,
Absolutely.
in every control deck.
And part of the thing is being able to hit every copy of it. Not only do you get hand information, you get deck information. So if you are in game 2 and you've sided this in or you had it main, you get to search their deck to make sure that those copies are gone. So you also get to see what they've sided it against you. It just gives you a lot of information, and Standard usually doesn't have that. So super excited to see that in there.
It gives me a little tingle. It reminds me of Surgical Extraction so much. It's just such a good card. And a little ruling thing about this, chat, if you're not aware of it. So let's say that you cast a spell and your opponent Test of Talents your spell, and it's one of your combo pieces, and you have 2 mana left over and a Test of Talents in your own hand. You can counter your own spell, your own combo piece, and then choose not to find any of the other copies in your deck. So it stops them from being able to go in and just cut everything out. It's a really, I remember the first time I had to call a judge over to my table because someone did that. I surgical extraction this. Oh, I'll just surgical extraction it myself. It's such a strong play to just shut that down.
Absolutely.
I can see counter decks fighting against each other with Test of Talents.
Absolutely.
The counters going back and forth that way.
Blue-green decks in Standard, that's definitely going to be in the sideboard because if they're in another control matchup, they're going to take your best counter spell. Saw it coming's gone.
Yeah.
You've just lost every copy. Or your big game enders, like the take the turn spell that gets birds.
Aldrin's Epiphany. Yeah,
it's gone. Sorry. Also with all the new commands, that's something else is the commands. So the multicolored spells. All those cards are extremely good. So being able to hit those from your opponent and take every one of them away, it's insane. So if you go to the instance, the little lightning bolt. So the one that I'm excited for the most is Prismari Command, which is the blue-red one that I was talking about last week. That's really going to help the Grixis deck that you've got. Mainly because on turn 3, if your opponent doesn't do anything and they pass priority to pass the turn, and you've got 3 mana, 5 mana on your next turn after you play a land, it's pretty good.
Yes.
If they tap all the way out and it's not very threatening, you just ramp up because it says target player creates a treasure token. The treasure token can be sacked for any color of mana. So on all of these commands, you get to choose 2 modes. On Prismari Command, it deals 2 damage to any target. Target player draws 2, then discards 2. Target player creates a treasure token or destroy target artifact. So if your opponent doesn't do anything on turn 3, you draw 2, discard 2, and make technically a land.
I like it.
Busted.
And, thinking about it now, I'm just thinking about the Grixis deck that we currently have built. Because the Grixis deck that we're running, you'll see it a little bit later, chat, but it is running Turgid Control. So it does revolve around removing their hand, removing their permanents and pulling them back into play with Turgid. So let's say that you've had a decent curve throughout the entire match and your opponent is now down to no cards in hand. You have Turgid on the ground. Prismari Command cause them to draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards, and Turgid will take any permanents that they discarded, as well as getting your treasure token or destroying an artifact or dealing damage if you have to deal damage. I mean, it's just infinite ways to play this card.
Yeah. Another one is Quandrix Command. We can't ignore blue-green with how good blue-green is in Standard. Choose 2. Return target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. removal right off the bat in a color scheme that really doesn't get a lot of it. Counter target artifact or enchantment spell. Put 2 +1/+1s on target creature, or target player shuffles the top 3 target cards from their graveyard into their library. So, in a set in which we've went over 3 or 4 cards, and it kind of seems that a lot of stuff is going to be starting to be put into the graveyard, being able to take things out of the graveyard and put them back into the deck is insane. So I think Quandrix Command may be either a main deck option for blue-green decks or a sideboard option, depending on what these decks are that really value their graveyard.
Yeah, it seems like you can get a lot of movement out of it. So the black creature that we looked at earlier, who's going to tutor a card into your graveyard, and then the next turn you Quandrix Command and just put the card back into their deck.
Yeah. Doesn't do anything. They wasted mana. They wasted that turn doing that. Fracture, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker for 2 mana at instant speed in black and white. It is in the color scheme that is heavily focused on in the set. Black-white just got one of the better lands, and black-white is known for having already the best board wipes in Standard, some of the strongest creatures in Standard in terms of, the effects that they get when they enter the battlefield. Exactly. Like we play in the Grixis deck, Tezrid, the front side to Tibble it's a black creature. So they have a lot of creatures, and if you need to make sure that they stay, if something's getting threatened by combat, this is an easy way to either answer planeswalkers or answer target artifacts or enchantments. Speaking of artifacts, there's one that really stood out to me, and it's the Poet's Quill, because I know from Zendikar we got a lot of artifact support, equipment support, things like that. Being able to attach equipments for free has always been something that's really good. And Poet's Quill says when it enters the battlefield, learn. You may reveal a lesson card you control from outside the game and put it into your hand, or discard a card and draw a card. So whenever it enters the battlefield, draw a card and discard a card if you're not even playing lessons at that point. So, and
some of the lesson cards are actually fairly strong.
They are insane. Some of them are. The equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has lifelink, and it equips for black and 1. It's generic. It gets bigger, but the biggest draw to it is the fact that you get to discard a card and draw. So it cycles a card out of your hand, which is super important, especially black decks usually have a real hard time drawing cards without having to sacrifice something.
Right.
So a way to draw cards without having to give up resources is something that the color scheme is needed for a long time.
Fracture is my best friend right now. Fracture is super powerful. It's going to annoy the absolute crap out of me when Strixhaven launches.
Some of the lessons, like this one here, Introduction to Annihilation 5, exile target non-land permanent, its controller draws a card. Good removal, but Introduction to Prophecy is a lesson. It's 3 colorless, so it fits in any color. Any deck fits regardless. Scry 2, then draw a card at sorcery speed. We were just talking about how certain decks or certain colors generally don't draw cards as efficient as, let's say, blue decks or red decks, because red decks usually have, things like Faithless Looting or Thrill of Possibility, which is currently in Standard. Tormenting Voice has been around for a very long time. Chandra Flamecaller had the ability to pitch your entire hand and draw that many +1. So certain colors usually have a hard time drawing cards. So like green just doesn't draw cards that often. So once they run out of cards in hand, they're usually not going to fill that back up.
Right.
Black has the same kind of downside to it. So being able to fit into these decks for no constraint on your mana is insane. It is undeniably one of the best things that I've seen come into Standard in a long time is the fact that they are colorless and fit into any color.
One of the other lesson cards that stuck out to me was Confront the Past. So it's X and a black mana. You choose one, you return target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that's a decent reanimator spell. And then remove twice X loyalty counters from target planeswalker and opponent controls. Which is, I mean, when most planeswalkers come in, if they have to answer something that's on the board, they're going to go down to like 2-3 loyalty.
Yeah.
And then you have this to come up on the next turn. It's just going to destroy their planeswalker easily for not a lot of mana. 3 mana, I believe, would take care of most of everything in the format. As long as it's done one of its minus effects, of course. And then just returning one of the planeswalkers that you need just straight to the battlefield. I mean, it definitely could be powerful later on in the game if you've stalled them out.
Yeah. One thing here, Rowan. Will and Rowan are back. We first saw them in Battle Bond, I believe, was the first time that we ever saw Will and Rowan, the sibling planeswalkers. Rowan is a 3-drop planeswalker who has a static ability. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less. +1. Rowan, Scholar of Sparks, deals 1 damage to each opponent. If you've drawn 3 or more cards this turn, she deals 3 damage to each opponent. That's on its own right. It's okay. -4. So she's going to give you an emblem. You get an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay 2. If you do, copy that spell. You get to choose new targets.
Nice.
So an emblem that constantly says for 2 more mana, you can copy the spell.
Insane.
The fact you see it here, it shows that Will is her opposite side for blue. I do kind of feel like she would find a way into Grixis as one of these. If early you've got nothing else going on and you want to start getting either just a little bit of damage in, or if you're trying to get to that ultimate, or you're just trying to make your stuff cost less,
right?
She does all of that for you. The opposite side, Will, says instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less. So it's reciprocal. Either side does the same thing. He has a +1 that says up to 1 target creature has base power and toughness 0-2 until the end of your next turn. So turn to Frog. -3, draw 2 cards. So as soon as you play them for 5 mana, you can just draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Or -7, exile up to 5 target permanents. For each permanent exiled this way, its controller creates a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. So, if there are things that are either needing to be answered on the board and you're not worried about your life total or anything like that, Will can answer all of those for you.
Right.
So if we're in a point where we're taking all these extra turns with Epiphany, Will is also going to be ticking up at the same time, and he's going to eventually be able to clear the board of some of the bigger threats.
Yeah.
So like in the game where we played the deck that was playing the World Tree, there were a lot of things that needed to be answered on that board.
Yes.
And we didn't have an ability to do that in just blue. So this could fit into either that deck as just a big bomb to play. So I really like that these planeswalkers have a lot of playability in them.
Yeah, it does look like they have a good amount of versatility. I do think that Rowan is a stronger choice over Will, just from her emblem ability that you can get to. But I just don't know about the ultimate on Will. I can't imagine many situations where I would want to exile my own permanents to get the 4/4 creatures, and then leaving an opponent with 5 4/4s is terrifying if you do not have a response.
If we're playing the Epiphany and we know that we've got the ability to put in damage, that ultimate could just hit our lands and just make them into 4/4s. We've seen it before. It's been relevant in standard man lands. Just being able to have creatures without having to cast them, spend your mana to do so. Being able to put, a lot of damage on board is insane. One other one, Casmina. This is one when I was looking at it with you before the show, I was flabbergasted with how good this card is. Casmina, the Enigma Sage. We first saw Casmina in War of the Spark. She came in as one of the uncommon planeswalkers who really didn't see a whole lot of play.
Right.
She did in the Jeskai Planeswalkers deck that was around for a little bit, but outside of that, never really saw play. However, this one is going to. Casmina says each other planeswalker you control has the loyalty abilities of Casmina the Enigma Sage. So every mode that she has, she gives to all the other planeswalkers that you currently control. So let's say you're playing Luca, the Wayward Bonder. He's able to scry one, create green and blue fractal creatures, and then search your library for an instant or sorcery card that shares a color with this planeswalker. Exile that card, shuffle your library. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. If there's one thing red is known for, it's for having big dumb burn spells that normally you're not going to be able to cast. One in particular, if we go down and look at it, right there is the Fireball, actually. Where's it at? It's like 8 mana for something stupid.
It was like 8 mana for 5 damage and then 3 damage afterwards with 3 mana coming back.
What it does is it deals 5 damage to one target, then 3 to another, and creates 3 mana.
Yeah, explosive welcome.
Yeah.
That's it.
If you were to do that with the Casmina Ultimate, you got to shoot something for 5, something for 3, and 3 red mana for 0 mana. So you dealt 8 damage to some things on the board, and then you just got 3 red mana out of it.
And it does look like there's a lot of abilities that allow us to copy this spell as it comes out of our hand as well. And it's played at instant speed, so it is fairly strong.
Yes. And then speaking of the Fireball, Crackle with Power is red XXX. Crackle with Power deals 5 times X damage to up to X targets.
I mean, so you cast each X for 1, right? So 1 colorless there. So the full mana cost is 5. And then you do 5 damage.
To 5 targets.
To 5 targets.
That's nuts.
It is very strong.
So if blue-green were to ramp into something like that and just so happen to be able to make red mana with, I don't know, something like Gilded Goose that just can make something make red mana, I hope you like your life being at 20 because it's not going to be there for long. Because if you put 3 mana into this, so if you spent 5 mana, you just got shot for 5, 10, 15.
Now,
or 5.
It does come down, it does make things more difficult if you just want to increase the damage a little bit, because then you do have to pay 3 additional mana for that. But, I mean, at that point, you're hitting everything for 10. So, it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's a decent fireball spell. It's not what I was looking for. I'm a fan of Red Sun Zenith. I love just Kamehamehaing somebody for all the mana that I've got and knocking them off the table. But this is a good answer for when someone drops a lot of big creatures, or you have super friends sitting across the board from you and you need to get rid of a bunch of planeswalkers.
Yep. One other red card that I'm super excited for is Retriever Phoenix. We saw how much Rekindling Phoenix gave us trouble. Well, this one is a 4-drop 2/2 with flying and haste. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, learn. So we'll get to either get a lesson or we draw a card and discard a card. It says as long as it's in your graveyard, if you would learn, you may instead return Retriever Phoenix to the battlefield.
Nice. So there will be a lot of learn effects most likely coming through, and then this Phoenix will just come back and back and back. I do like, however, that it's a 2/2, so I can answer it with like a Frostbite or any other small red spell that just does 2 damage. It doesn't make it feel too overpowerful, but in something like Red Deck Wins, where this is coming back over and over and over again, and it's just hard to answer, it definitely can be an easy win condition for them.
One other one, real quick, in red. We talked about how cards count if they're in the graveyard now. Illuminate history for 2 red. Discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards. If there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, create a 3/2 red and white creature token. So being able to dump your hand, draw that many, and then, so if you're not at 7, but if you were to discard your hand and then do it, so it only makes the creature after it sees how many are there after you've drawn. So it counts after you've drawn. So you get to discard first, fill up the graveyard, then you just make a 3/2.
So you may not be playing this at sorcery speed on turn 4 in a deck like Red Deck Wins, unless they're destroying a bunch of your stuff. I mean, you drop a 1/1 and they take care of it. You drop another 1/1 and they take care of it. You've got a couple of cards left in your hand that aren't really helping, or they're burn spells and they're not playing creatures. So you dump it. You dump all the cards out of your hand and you draw all those cards back. You get a 3/2 creature.
Yeah, one thing about it here is that it is a lesson. So Phoenix on 4 adds the lesson.
Nice.
And then when you cast it, sorry, I'm going to get to discard my entire hand and draw that many. So if you were to throw, I don't know, more Phoenixes into the graveyard,
Nice.
A lot of ways to dump things into the graveyard in this set, and I love it. I love it. I'm come from playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and the graveyard's super important. Seeing that the graveyard matters here makes this even better for me. I'm not sure. Is there any other ones that you wanted to touch on? Any others that you know?
We hit everything that I
Okay.
looked at. Let's see.
I think there's one more. I just looked at my list. For me, Semester's End is 3 and a white for an instant that says exile any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of the next end step, return each of them to the battlefield under its owner's control. Each of them enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. If it's a creature, and an additional loyalty counter if it's a planeswalker.
Yeah.
So being able to reset your planeswalkers or power up your creatures in white at instant speed, super insane. So it basically blinks anything. So if there are a lot of ETBs that you're taking advantage of, white-black has a lot of those that drain your opponent and shoot your opponent when they enter the battlefield. Being able to do that and make them bigger at the same time.
See, this on top of Yorion and on top of Doom Foretold makes me a little scared.
Yeah. Doom Foretold is one heck of a card. So being able to reset those, reset your sagas. I mean, not your sagas, I don't think. Creatures and or planeswalkers. So being able to reset creatures or planeswalkers, like if your opponents hit your planeswalker in battle and you don't have enough to either minus or do another effect, you can just reset it and it comes in with an additional loyalty counter. But I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about for Strixhaven. Super excited for this set. I think that it's going to be a very good one. I think that it's going to make Standard just a little bit healthier. I think that I've seen enough to where it doesn't make me fear blue-green as much as I have been over the past little bit. Because I've been fearing blue-green for a long time. I think ever since, Guilds released, I've been kind of like, hey, Growth Spiral's a really busted card. You can just leave it at that. And then they said, no, we're gonna, they get Uro, and it's like, okay, well, what else are you gonna give them? You got Gilded Goose, and I was like, Birds of Paradise, great, that's exactly what they needed. Oh, here's Oko. Just too much blue green.
Some of the other cards that I was looking over for the set that I thought that would be very powerful. White Black had Fracture. That's already a fairly powerful removal card. Vanishing Verse is also fairly powerful as well. Same mana cost, a 1 white and a black. Exile target monocolored permanent. Just
insane.
Super cheap. Also, a white and a red for Rip Apart. Rip Apart deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker and destroy target artifact or enchantment. So having an answer for enchantments and artifacts in a super low mana cost card at sorcery speed, unfortunately, it is still powerful, and the ability to hit a creature for 3 when most smaller creatures are going to die from that amount of damage, or these planeswalkers that are coming in and making themselves low to answer something on the board. You just get rid of that planeswalker next turn. I think White is getting a lot of powerful abilities.
Secret Rendezvous. You and target opponent draws 3 cards. That's something I haven't seen before. It's something that I don't think I've ever seen a card that says both of you get to draw this many without it being something that's played. And White usually doesn't get to draw cards.
True.
White is one of the ones that doesn't get to draw cards hardly ever outside of like Revitalize. But
and the only other White spell that I saw that was kind of strong was Elite Spellbinder. So Elite Spellbinder has flying. He's 3 mana for a 3/1, which is already strong. When it enters the battlefield, you look at your target opponent's hand, which you usually don't get to do in White. You may exile a non-land card from it for as long as a card remains exiled. Its owner must may play it, but they have to pay 2 additional mana to cast it.
Yep.
So it really turns some decks off kilt. Like if you're running up against a red deck wins deck and you take their Embercleave and make it cost 2 more mana, it just turns off their curve. They at that point it's very difficult for them to come back into a win.
That almost reminds me of Vendilion Click. It's very, very close to Vendilion Click. If it had flash, it would be copy and paste Vendilion Click.
Exactly.
If you've played in Standard at the point that Vendilion Click was out, Morning Tide, Evening Tide, those old sets, you would understand that Vendilion Click was powerful and deserved all the recognition that card has received throughout its lifetime. So more iterations of that, like Brazen Borrower was one. It drew comparisons. So I think that's everything that we wanted to do with Strixhaven.
So we did have to restart, so we have to open up Magic Arena again. So we'll go ahead and open up Arena. We have a deck to play. Well, we have a couple decks to play, actually. We have at least 2 decks that seem to be performing. Before the stream, I was messing around with the Grixis deck chat that went undefeated while I was sitting in the chair. So we'll see how well that actually goes while we're live. Now, how about we just start out with challenging Pauly here?
Okay. Yeah, I do think that Major Pauly wanted some smoke, is I think what they said.
Yeah, I believe
before.
He said he wanted the smoke.
Yeah. They need to get our tag, right?
Yeah, so we can actually just pull it up and show it. Oh,
that's it right down there in the bottom, ain't it?
Yeah, it looks like it's just Rolling Toad.
I thought they had like a hashtag numbers under. Yeah,
so
profile.
Okay.
Yeah, right there.
There it is. So send us a friend request, or however we do this. Pauly Live number 26049. Ash Fetchum.
AKA Big Josh. Hello, Josh. What's up, buddy?
So another challenger is approaching. So once we take care of Pauly, we're coming for you, Ash.
All right.
If any of you guys want to challenge us at all today, go ahead and add us to your friends list. You can see our tag right there.
Yeah.
We're accepting them all.
Pauly, just let us know when you're ready, buddy. Do you know which one we wanna take in?
Oh, that's a hard question. Do we want to jump into Grixis straight away? Do we want to play our Snow Tempo deck, which we know is very strong?
I think that I really do like the Snow Tempo deck, and I think that would be something good to warm us up with.
Okay.
With the big changes that we made to Grixis, we set out on a mission to #fix Grixis, and I think we did that.
So he says he's ready, so let's go. I'm sorry, this is going to end up being a 2v1. I don't get to draw cards, but I'm at least going to try and tell him what to do. So we're going to run best of 3. Our snow deck does have a sideboard that we can side in, so that's good.
There it is. Well, click play.
I don't know what's up with that mouse, but it's
I don't
just not
know.
clicking today.
It was having the same problem last week too. I had a really hard time and misclick. Well, I misclicked. We're gonna play first.
Good luck,
That's
Polly.
what we want to do. Ooh, that is rough.
So, the Frost Augur may get us into another land if we really wanted to do this, but I feel that's
I
really
don't think we
risky.
could keep it.
Wow.
You hate to see it. I don't think there's enough there. I think that these two were really close. If we had one more spell, I definitely think that it would be an easy keep.
A draw would get us where we need to be,
Yeah.
but do we really want to go down to 5 cards?
I don't think we can with tempo, just because we need all the stuff in our hand. We need the gas as much as possible.
How funny is it that this is the most consistent deck that we have to run, and our first 2 hands are so terrible?
Yeah, they are terrible.
All right, so we're coming in with a snow-covered island.
Yeah, I do think that that's the first play. It does look like they mulliganed as well.
Nice.
So don't feel as bad. 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay.
Okay.
Just a land pass.
Now, if it were me, I think we foretell the multiverse here.
Okay.
That way we can play it on the next turn if we need to, if there's nothing to respond to.
Because we don't know what we're playing yet, so Brazen Bar really doesn't do too much going in blind, and it looks like we're gonna get. Do we play Behold on this turn? I don't think
I think
we do.
it's instant speed, so we just wait
Yeah.
till the end of their turn.
Sadly, no creatures, no Ascended Spirit, no Frost Augurs, no nothing yet. But
Where's
hopefully,
the spray?
Yeah.
The spray? What does that mean, Chad?
Have no clue. Bastion of Remembrance. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 and you gain 1.
That's probably going to be very annoying as time goes by. We can let it go and just deal with the 1/1.
I think that we let it go just because we have a borrower to either put this back in the hand or just get rid of the token for good.
But that is a foretelling part of this deck that we're playing against here, because it does seem like most of the creatures that are going to come down are either going to sacrifice and cause us to lose a life or cause them to gain a life, which may in turn cause us to lose a life. So it seems like we're going to be getting pinged a whole lot here.
No. I think this may be one that we just let slide and then we just behold here.
Yeah.
So
I think that's probably a good play.
Yeah. So make the 1/1. They don't really have anything, and then we behold the multiverse.
So we drew into another one in a snowland. We'll definitely get the snowland out of there.
Because we've got 2 in our hand, and then we're probably more than likely going to draw 1, knowing us. We didn't, but
An Essence Scatter.
and
an
an
Ascended
Ascended
here.
Spirit.
Oh, nice. So I think they probably have some removal in that hand. Looking at black-white, do we want to protect our Ascendant? We can protect our Ascendant Spirit if we drop it down here, and if they don't do anything, we technically can pump it at the end of the turn as well.
I do think that we keep the Ascended Spirit, and try and protect it as best as possible, because we do need a way to make sure that if when the attackers do come swinging, we have something that can eventually wipe them out. Because it doesn't look like anything's going to get too big in this deck, or I don't think that it's going to get too big, but Ascended Spirit itself can.
Yes.
So I do think that we can get away with playing it, and then if we don't have to protect it, we don't have to.
How do I play new here? We'll get into it in after this match, Ash. We're doing a best of 3 right now with Pauly. Once we're finished with that, we'll see what we can do to get you on the friends list and see if we can play.
Yeah. So this is Magic: The Gathering Arena. I'm I'm not sure if Ash is new to Arena itself. If that's what they're asking, because it does say that they said, "What is this?" So they may just be new to Arena.
Now there are definitely some decks that you can start out with on Arena that they give you for free, and if you haven't already, Google Magic the Gathering Arena redemption codes. There's a ton of sites where you can get packs, outright decks, and things like that. I don't know if your starter decks will really stand against the constructed decks that we've got so far. They are fairly strong.
So it does look like they're casting Marauding Blight Priest, which says whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life.
Okay, and then they're going to gain a life when their creature dies, and we'll lose a life, and then we'll lose a life.
I do think that is something that we probably need to answer.
Okay.
We don't have enough removal for it. Our removal is just soft removal, and this kind of does seem like it may be a bigger portion of what they're going for.
So in this respect, I would say we burn away our Essence Scatter here and hold on to our Saw It Coming, just because Saw It Coming can counter more things.
Counter anything, because there could be a removal spell or another big either enchantment or artifact that does a lot.
1 black mana open, he's swinging with 1, and we'll take 1. Why not?
So drew another land. So we are hitting a lot of lands, so we're going to be able to cast our stuff on curve. So how many do we have? 4 or 5?
So if we foretell Behold the Multiverse this turn,
we can still hold up.
Yeah, we can still saw it coming.
I think that is the plan. And then we can just go ahead and get in for 1. I don't think there's a reason to hold Ascendant Spirit back. I don't think that we're going to be blocking with it anytime soon, because we want it to live until we can use its ability to make it bigger.
Right.
So there was no reason not to get in at least 1 damage there.
Hey, let's go to the gameplay screen, Chad. Instead of that screen where it's kind of hard to see everything. Now you just see us in the middle and you don't see our bear anymore. Poor bear.
Poor bear.
We're the pets, Chad.
Core Celebrant. Another creature... whenever Core Celebrant or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. I think that's fine.
Yeah, we can deal with that. That's not... Yeah, now you're back at 20. And...
Yeah, definitely not going to block that. And then we just get to Behold the Multiverse here. Oh, yeah, or do we want to activate Ascended Spirit?
I feel like we need more answers in our hand. I do feel like we're lacking a bit here. We have a land and a Frost Augur. I mean, we could put out the Frost Augur so we have something to block with for the 1/1s that keep coming at us.
It does keep the 1/1s in check, or at least can trade favorably with them. I don't think we need the land. We may later, but right now I don't think that we do. So I think we scry those like that, and then just go ahead and draw the 2.
Looks good to me.
Found a Brazen Borrower, and there's a land. So definitely glad we put that land back. Now we have enough to just go ahead and deploy the Frost Augur. Looks like we're sitting pretty right now. There's nothing that's threatened us too much. Ash, this is also available on your phone.
Yeah, it actually just recently went live for Android and iPhones, just across the board.
So it is available for download on Android and iOS devices.
All right. So he's finally playing something that's a big mana cost here.
Whenever a Skyclave Hierophant or another cleric you control dies, return target cleric with lesser converted mana cost from your graveyard to the battlefield. I think we let it go.
It's not going to do anything to us this turn, and we have the ability to double pump our Ascended Spirit this turn if we want. So
I think that we just let it go.
It also puts Ascended Spirit at a 4/4 in the air.
They do gain 1 though. That's not that big of a deal, but it is relevant. It does further extend the clock that we have to extend into.
I think we're right on track for a victory here, though. If removal does not start coming from the other side, that's what I was looking for. So -X, you gain. Okay, pump it.
Yeah, their X is 1. We can just pay the 2, and then we can pay the 3.
Yeah.
So it gets -X. They gain 1 life. We're still left with a 3/3. Nice.
All right, so we drop out our land. We have the disruption that we need to just do whatever we want, really.
Yep.
Do we want to pump and gain a card when we swing in for 6?
How much is that?
4.
4. And we're left with, so we've got 7.
2.
I think that we do, because we've got 6, 7.
Yeah.
So we would have 3. I think that we do.
Seems like a good idea to me. So let's come in swinging for 6. And we'll draw a card. How long are you going to be in stream? So our stream tonight will last until around like 8:15 because we got a little bit of a late start.
Yeah. So we'll be in here for a little bit. We've got a little bit over an hour left.
But every Wednesday we're going to be doing these standard games on Magic the Arena, Magic the Gathering Arena, and every Friday our good friend Jeremy does limited or drafts on Arena, and he's been building commander decks for us.
So they just played Hallowed Priest, and it says whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 on it.
Okay.
So they're gonna gain life, get a
Put
+1/+1.
Yeah. By the time it ever swings at us, we'll just put it back in your hand.
Yep.
Incoming 3/3.
I think that that's fine. It doesn't have any abilities to do anything when it hits us, so not that worried about it. It does make the priest just a little bit bigger, but we do have plenty of interruption for that, or ways to just get around that. We're not too worried about it.
Now, we can make the Ascended Spirit an 8/8 here.
Oh, that's right. Would we want to do that?
The longer he stays out there unanswered, the bigger he can become. And I think it also makes it to where we can draw 2 cards from him hitting.
If we do that, we are left with 3 mana open. So I do feel like that would be a good play. And we'll just get in there for 8. Get him down to 12. Yep.
Drawing 2 cards off of it. And it puts us into an Outrun's Epiphany, so I think we actually just win.
Yeah. Unless there's a way to get around or do something, I do think that might have been just enough.
Yeah, I believe that's game. We'll hit him for 8 next turn. We'll Outrun's Epiphany and take an extra turn and swing 8 again.
Yeah.
Is he going to gain any life here?
He is. He's going to gain 3. And that's
and
it.
That gets 3 +1/+1 counters.
It's only going to get 1.
Oh yeah, because it's 1 instance.
So
of
it'll
gaining
just
life.
go up to 5, but it's after damage.
Okay. See what we can pull off the top here.
Take the action, put that in our hand.
It's Summoning Sickness, so we can't use that
That's
ability.
right.
And then, yep. So we will take an extra turn after this one. We have 2 1/1 flyers. We're gonna swing our 8/8.
Yep.
Hits you for 8. You're down to 8, and we take an extra turn.
Yeah, we take our extra turn. We draw 2. Not that those really matter at this point. We did find a Shark Typhoon. I think we'll just discard this into the Royal. And then we'll just go to all attack. Might have messed up. Does this no lifelink and does not have lifelink? Yeah, I don't think we messed up. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So that's round 1. We are doing a best of 3, so we're going to go into our sideboard now. We really didn't see any threats that caused any issues to us there. I have to imagine our opponent's going to be rotating in a lot of removal,
Yes.
just to hit our Ascended Spirits. Unfortunately for them, that is not the actual win con of this
No.
deck.
Is there anything that we bring in here?
No, I
No,
honestly don't
that
see.
there is. If there was more of a reason, I would think that Mystic Subdual would do something, just because it makes all of their stuff lose their abilities. So like the 4-mana black-white cleric that has the abilities that it gains life and does that stuff, that could effectively just turn it off and make it a I think it was a 3/3. It makes it a 1/3. So yeah, I don't think that there's anything that we really need to bring in here.
You can move that stop sharing thing. Just move it off the screen or move it up to the other screen. It doesn't matter.
Now we get to see if we're going to be on the play or going second. Once again, unplayable hand.
Another problem with an unplayable hand. So we absolutely have to mulligan that.
This one's a little bit better. Not a whole lot, but it is better.
I don't like having the 2 Shark Typhoons in the hand, but we can cycle those out if we absolutely have to.
Yep.
And that sets us up for our win con, especially with the Graven Lore in hand.
Yep. I think we could actually tuck one of these Typhoons back.
Okay.
If we did keep this hand, because we have the Ascended Spirit, we can Behold the Multiverse, and then that's eventually just going to be 2 mana that we're going to be able to scry and fix.
So what we want to decide here, we obviously are going to get rid of one of the Shark Typhoons. What we want to decide here is how aggressive do we want to play? Do we want to drop Ascended Spirit turn 1, pump him turn 2, and just keep going that way? Or do we want our turn 2 to be a Behold the Multiverse, being foretold, so we can cast it on turn 3 if we don't hit our land?
I do think that if we lead with the Ascendant Spirit, it makes them have to deploy their answers sooner, so they're not being able to establish their board as effectively. They essentially have to either take a turn off or so we're actually going first. Okay. So that's fine with me, Ascendant Spirit. So now they're having to play into what we're doing.
So what do we think they rotated in for removal? Probably Blood Chief's Thirst?
Probably. Do we want to go ahead and Behold here and get that ready, just in case we don't see any lands?
I don't like that we didn't draw a land.
Yeah.
That really does scare me. I do think that a turn 3 Behold the Multiverse when we don't run into a land is going to be super powerful.
Yeah. I don't think that there's any reason not to get in one there.
So, yes, 2 black mana sources now, so that opens up most removal in the deck. Here comes a removal.
An intervention. So, okay, there's our land.
I think we just let him go.
Yeah. Because worst comes to worst, Behold and then cycle Shark Typhoon if we really needed or wanted to. And if something is deployed that we need to answer or feel like could be a threat later, we have a... Speak of the devil. Impassioned Order has always been one in the Aristocrat style decks, which this technically falls under the threshold of being able ETB triggers. So this is whenever something does enter the battlefield, they gain life.
Could get out of hand. I think we're okay with it for right now.
For right now, I think that it's fine. Really depends on what the multiverse finds us. Do we want both of these lands?
So we're really going to be hurting if we do draw into a 3rd land there. We're not so much hurting that because we do have responses, but those 2 lands do open up our Graven Lore.
Yeah.
And gets us closer to our Shark Typhoon. Yeah, I think we take them. If we get to... Wow, okay. So we did hit a 3rd land, but it's a Faceless Haven. Faceless Haven is super strong, chat, for 3...
Extremely strong.
3 snow mana. It turns into a 4/3 creature. It will help us out here, especially if they decide to swing this 2/2 right now.
Let's see what they've got. Veto. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life.
So we're going to lose 1 life.
Yeah, regardless. I think that we let it resolve, and we can just enter the royal it back to the hand and draw a card while we're at it.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if there's any other responses or attacks for this turn. So they are attacking.
And
Yeah,
just
we'll
with
just take 2.
Yeah.
And get our card.
So now they have to redevelop the board, and this is the tempo portion, and we did find an answer for it, so that's awesome. Play our other land. Now we can hold up the Graven Lore, or we can behold and have the Essence Scatter for the veto.
I think we should behold and have the Essence Scatter ready.
Yeah.
This allows us to not worry about the Graven Lore for this turn, but cast our Shark Typhoon on the next turn, and the turn after that we get a 5/5 Shark, as well as being able to scry 5 and draw 3.
So they did play the Scoured Barrens before they played the veto. So if they would have held off with the land for turn, they would have played veto. Okay, so they're not trying to deploy veto, which I think that's absolutely fine. This resolves. I don't think that there's...
They will not be able to ping us enough. The clock is going to be too fast by the time we have Shark Typhoon out. Unless they have... I mean, they are playing white. They can't get rid of our enchantment if they have something in hand.
I think the 2 mana is fine, and then we just behold.
At this point, I would take the risk. We want an Alrund's Epiphany, right?
So put them both?
I would just get rid of both.
Okay.
It may come back to bite us, but... Yeah, let's get it actually come back to bite us. But... we can actually put them out for blockers, save us some more turns. I think we just go for the Typhoon.
Yeah, I think that we go for the Typhoon. I think we're in a good enough spot that it would take something absolutely huge. Black and white is not usually known for haste. It would take something super, super huge for them to even get us to the point of either just them outright winning the game here, or putting us into a position that we have to have exactly Alrund's Epiphany. It would take something astronomically huge, and I don't think that that is veto. Okay. That was pretty huge.
That does hurt. So,
well, yeah, you hate to see it.
What do we do?
I'm not sure. I don't think that there's anything. Like, we definitely have to play our land. But that Linden really hurt. That was out of left field. Let's see. Whenever a creature attacks, you gain 1. So they'd be able to hit us for 4 next turn if they didn't play a creature, because Linden makes him gain 1 for each 1 attack, and then veto pings us for 1. If they do play another one, that would take us down to 4, 5, take us down to 3, and then we'd have to activate a Faceless Haven and block 1.
Now we do have 2 1-drops in our hand that we could use for blockers as well, and if we drop them, we also have the ability to cast Graven Lore on their turn and get a 5/5 flyer that can block as well.
Yeah.
But it really depends on what they are holding in their hand at this point.
We may be forced to answer something, and it's just not going to be enough. So I opened my big mouth and was talking about how it was going to take something huge, and boy, did they ever have it. They had every bit of it.
He pulled it out. Okay. Whenever a creature you control enters the battlefield or dies, you gain 1 life. He does not count as a creature, so he does not affect anything, right? Unless they're...
The devotion's on, because she's 3. So, Essence Scatter can tag it.
And that gives us another blocker.
It wouldn't give us an... Oh, it does.
It does give us it gives us a 2/2.
I think that we kind of have to, because if not, then Impassioned Orator's going to trigger. And then if they have any other creature for 4 mana, it just makes the math even worse against us. And this one is a 2/2, so it does favorably either block the veto or can. Okay. It has lifelink as long as it has 5 more +1s. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 on it. If that creature was a cleric, you may draw a card. If you do, lose 1 life. I think we can't really do anything about it. So we're gonna go down to 7.
We may want to cycle out our Shark Typhoon here to see what else we can get into our hand, but we've got to figure out. So yeah, we just have to let those resolve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how
That
much does
hurts.
it? If we pay 3 snow, it becomes a 4/4, right?
It only works if you've paid the 2 mana beforehand.
Oh, it only works
So
if we
it
paid
does
the
not
2.
become that 4/4 unless it was a 2/3 beforehand.
Okay. And then
However, we can make it a 2/3 and trade with the 2/2 to keep it on
We
the
can.
board.
I think we need to go to blockers. Put this one here. Put this here. And then put this on the Impassioned Order and pay the mana for the Ascended Spirit.
So we'll do that right before the damage phase.
Yeah.
We choose our blockers. It's about to pass the damage. We pump it. And then we're going to lose some life.
Oh,
just
yeah,
straight
we
up
just
died
lost.
because of that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So now we know what we can't allow them to put on the board, and what we have to hold our Essence Scatter for. We lost that game because we put our Shark Typhoon down instead of holding on to our defense. So we want to make sure we get creatures. That flipped real quick. GG.
Yes, it really did. That was kind of rough.
Do we want to? So what does Strix do? He removes
Flying, flash, and flying, so we can play them into combat if we really needed to. Spells you cast with converted mana cost 5 or greater cost 1 less to cast and can't be countered.
Okay, so we're not really worried about that.
No.
That's really for a blue matchup.
Yep.
I
do think that we could possibly trim on some of the more expensive spells for some of the cheaper spells like Negate. Although it's not very relevant, it only seemed like they played 1 or 2 non-creature spells, really. So it really doesn't do a whole lot. Mystical Dispute's not good because it's the 3 mana counter spell. Mystic Subdual is really the only other thing I'm thinking about outside of Glimpse of Freedom. Like, if I was going into this and I didn't know, it's like Glimpse of Freedom, maybe. I don't think so, but like Mystic Subdual over everything in the sideboard is really the only thing that really sticks out that could be playable. And even then, I don't think it's that good. So I just think that we run it back.
Let's run it back.
Now we do get to choose.
Like, heckin' sweet, dude.
Yeah.
That was our downfall. We assumed that you wouldn't have your combo pieces set up like that.
Yeah, or so now we get to choose first or draw.
I think we always just want to play first.
Yeah. Cross your fingers for a playable first hand because we haven't had one. We've had to mulligan at least once.
Okay.
It's playable.
Yeah, everything in our hand we can cast.
Yeah. And even then, we have plays on 1 and 2. Even though we're not drawing cards or doing anything like that, we are developing a board, and we have some, at least some interaction.
We're forcing him to respond to these Ascended Spirits as well. 2 of them coming on the board can get super out of hand if they're not stopped.
And Erebos' intervention, they have to pay X into it, and it only hits a certain thing. So now it looks like that Erebos intervention is not even going to work. Just because we have the mana open to.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine. No reason not to. They can't attack, can't do anything. I think we go into combat, and if they block, they block. If not,
I think if they don't block, we just. Is there anything they can cast on this next turn that's going to set the pace that we can't respond to them?
Veto.
Okay.
Which is, I believe it's black into.
Okay.
Outside of that, the only other thing would be a removal spell or the enchantment that they play that makes a 1/1.
So let's hold on to our Saw It Coming, see if we can actually play into this here. Here's their black source.
Hallowed Priest. I think that's fine. It is going to go up to a 2/2 off the gate, but I don't think that that's too much. Definitely not worthy of the counterspell, because if it does get too huge, we can just bounce it back and then it's small again.
Now, one thing we've been doing is holding on to the Brazen Borrowers, but in a deck that we're running like this, where they do not have answers for us in the air, it may be best for us to go ahead and throw our 3/3 down, or 3/1 down. That puts us on a faster clock, and the next turn we can actually put the Ascended Spirit up in the air as a 4/4 and hit them for 7 damage.
That's true. We can actually go Ascended Spirit, pay the mana for the other one, and yeah. I think this is one where they have to have either the wipe for the entire board or the removal spell to get rid of these bigger threats faster. So, if they have any other creature, Hallowed Priest is going to get bigger. Impassioned Orator would get bigger. The only thing here is if they have a cheap creature and a veto. In that case, they would get 2 Impassioned Orator triggers and at least 2 veto triggers if they put veto in first.
True.
So, Daxos Blessed by the Sun. Okay. I'm not worried about any of that.
If we draw 1 more mana, which we didn't, great. We can still swing 7 in the air here. I don't think we do anything with the other Ascended Spirit at that point. Just because Daxos can block it.
And then we do have two bounces, so if we are feeling extremely threatened, which we're at 13, so this could be a lot depending on what's played.
But we can bounce. We have an SS scatter. Oh gosh, SS scatter up. We have our Saw It Coming up. We have a Brazen Borrower to bounce something. I don't think there's anything he can play here.
Especially with 4 mana.
Yeah.
The only one that would be is Linden, but we're not tapped out this time. Yeah, tapping out and then getting hit with Linden with a veto and an Impassioned Order really sucked.
This is my favorite part about this deck. You know, it has everything that you need to stall to get to your big win conditions, but Ascended Spirit is so strong off the rip, and with Brazen Borrower being a 3/1 in the air that most decks can't respond to, it just turns everything off.
So that was an indulging partition. I 100% think that deserves to eat the counterspell, just because they were already going to gain 2 off of Daxos and Impassioned Order, so they were already going to gain 2, and then good game.
Yeah, I think we don't let them gain 2 either. We just bounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just get it out of here.
Which one?
Which has lifelink?
Neither of them have lifelink.
How is he going to gain 2 from swinging then?
He's not.
Okay.
It would have been
If he
off of Impassioned Order,
Right.
off of Daxos. Would have made Hallowed Spirit it would have been a 5/5. They don't have enough mana to cast Impassioned Order.
And
or
they don't
Daxos.
gain any life from this attack, so we can either just take it on the head or bounce something if we want to, but it really just doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think that we bounce that, so it makes them deploy that first. That way, if we do draw an answer for it, we're fine. I don't think that there's anything that they could do that could hit us from 13 down to 1. We drew a Faceless Haven.
And we swing 7 in the air.
Animate it, make them feel good.
And that is Mono Blue Snow Tempo, chat. It is a super strong deck. It ran me on when Kaldheim first came out. It ran our account all the way up to Platinum 2. And where it has trouble is in decks where you actually need removal, like Luris of the Dream Den, the Rogues, things like that. It is hard to try and turn them off kilt or off of their curve. But this deck does have a good ability to take your opponent's footing off and then just slam them down with either the combo or the Ascended Spirit just down their throat over and over again.
I think that it's pretty versatile. It's got a lot of answers that do a lot of different things, and if it's not the answers, then it's the threats that we deploy to. So it's one of the things that, okay, well, I have to answer all these. I have to answer threat 1, 2, and 3, but after I answer 1, 2, and 3, there's 4 and 5.
Exactly.
4 and 5 being Shark Typhoon and Alrund's Epiphany. The other ones, 1, 2, and 3 being Ascended Spirit. The Brazen Borrowers definitely are a threat themselves, and other things, a combination of, Faithless Haven, Frost Augur just being able to put advantage into our hand if we do hit. So there's a lot of different things that they have to answer, and I think that the deck does a very good job and has the ability to play well, really against any deck. So
it can hit its curve. It can hit its curve and just completely play out a game where you don't have to respond to anything your opponent is doing. You're just ramming straight through them. So it's one of the things I like about the deck. It does have answers for a lot of things your opponent would need to do. Mono blue, man, it's always powerful. What can I say? I think the last time it was decent was with the Djinn that got stronger for every island that you played.
So that was Tempest Djinn that came out in Dominaria. At that point, they had Opt, they had Tempest Djinn, they had Siren Storm Tamer was one from Ixalan. They had Curious Obsession, which was also from Ixalan, which was a 1-mana enchantment. The creature, whenever it dealt damage, you got to draw one, but the monster had to attack. Right. And the thing is everything was 1/1 unblockable, or it was Tempest Djinn and was a 4/4, 5/5, 6/6, 7/7. It just got bigger every time, and mostly everything flew. So they were able to hit, and then they're tempoing you out with things like Brazen Borrowers or Brazen Borrower-esque effects like Into the Royal, or all these little spells that just bounce things back to your hand, or just cheap spells. So they were constantly able to draw, constantly able to do things in mono blue tempo. It won 2 Pro Tours, 2 standard Pro Tours, just the fact that it was so good at out-tempoing your opponent.
So, chat, are there any other challenges, or Jace, would you like to try and play against our Grixis deck that we've recently built?
I was hoping to draw another mana, but no luck. Yeah, we struggled on mana a little bit too. It happens. They said that they'll play again.
All right. Fair warning. This deck has a crap load of removal. And we're going to be removing 90% of those creatures that you're playing. So, do we get to choose our deck yet? I have to wait for the challenge.
Yeah. I think we have to wait for them to accept it first.
We just have to make sure we choose the right Grixis deck, because I know I have like 15 in there. I've been working on Grixis for so long, chat. This is the 3rd set that I've tried to rotate stuff in to see if it starts working. This deck seemed to perform very well for me earlier. It's that one, the New Deck 2.
New Deck 2, okay.
Yeah.
I remember I done the same, and currently I'm doing the same with blue-white just because my favorite color combination. It's one of the color combinations I know best. And I have a lot of experience with it. I've topped a lot of events with blue white. We definitely play first.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So
we have 2 sources of most of the colors in our hand. Fable Passage can get the 3rd.
I think we actually keep this with Fable Passage into our red mana, so we can have Frostbite up. And then when Snow-Covered Island and Snow-Covered Swamp come down, Frostbite turns from 2 damage to 3 damage. So if it's still in our hand by then, it's still powerful.
Okay. I think that's perfectly fine. I think that's what I was thinking myself. If they will go ahead and give us the go-ahead, we'll get started. They love to hold that back. Looks like Jace is still determining on what to put back. I think that they already did mulligan once. So yeah, a lot of removal, as was stated. So Fabled Passage, and then it's gonna go and get us our red source.
Yep.
And that would turn on everything in our hand. That is not what I thought we were going to be playing against.
So we're playing against a red deck. That's fine. So we're going to take 1 this turn.
You bamboozled me.
But we are not taking 1 from that creature next turn. I can promise you that. Okay. Now, do we want... Well, it's at instant speed with Frostbite, so we can wait till their turn to see if there's something else we have to deal with. My question is, do we want to get our Ice Tunnel out of the way now? Or
I
do we want
think
to hold
so.
on to it?
I think so, just because later we can even go ahead and play these basics before the Fable Passage. That way, Fable Passage makes it come in untapped. We're not really going to be doing anything with Heartless Act, just because we were already going to use Frostbite on this. So either way, it's going to eat one of these, and I would rather keep Heartless Act, because Heartless Act has a little bit more reach with it. Because Frostbite can only do so much damage.
We want to kill whatever we can with Frostbite as it comes up. It really is the spell in your hand that you want to get out as quickly as possible and hold on to the other removal spells.
Oh, so Rakdos.
Serrated Scorpion. I imagine that we're going to start seeing some sacrifices. Fervent Champion's going to come in for 1 again.
Yeah. Do we want to go ahead and get that out of the way, or we can tag the Scorpion itself?
What other ability does Fervent Champion have? Is it First Strike?
Equip abilities that you use to target it cost 3 less.
We can kill it later. We may just want to take that Scorpion now. It is only 1 damage.
And then it's going to shoot us.
Which is fine. We definitely have a ton of answers in this deck. So, we can do that and just get rid of their creatures right now.
Yeah. Just because I don't... none of the counterspell that we have in our hand doesn't answer a creature. And I don't think that there's any spell, like... I'm really worried about, especially with 2 mana. Like, I'm not worried about Embercleave with only 2 mana. And no attacking creatures. So I think Fable Passage comes down here as our land.
We have 2 black sources already. We need another blue source.
Yeah. And I think we can just pass the turn there. We have Saw It Coming. Negate, Heartless Act.
So we did play Demon's Disciple there, chat, and it does look like it's a little bit of a strange removal spell for our deck because it does cost 3. We could have more Heartless Acts in its place. But the reason why we're running these effects, these target player sacrifices a creature effect, Hexproof has become a thing that's been annoying to play around. And Turgid says if they sacrifice their creature while she's on the field, we get that creature. We get the opportunity to have that creature come on our side of the field. So that's why we're running a lot of different sacrifice effects. So Croxa will come down here and force them to either discard a card or take 3.
And then puts it in the graveyard. And with the amount of spells that we are using, these removal spells, these really cheap interactive spells, we're going to be able to bring Croxa back. You know, the counter spells that are leaving our hand. These are types of decks, like these very grindy mid-range decks, usually put a lot of stuff into the graveyard. So that's probably decks that are going to take the most advantage of some of those cards we saw from Strixhaven.
Exactly. We already have the mana opened up for Croxa to hit the field. I don't believe we have enough in our graveyard at the moment, but we're probably fairly close.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually already have 5 cards in the graveyard, so we could Croxa this next turn if we wanted to. When it dies, dies, it deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker and opponent controls.
I think that it's fun. And then we
I
could
don't
just-
see them burning us enough from 16 with that. So
No. It would take, Embercleave could do it, but they would need a bit more land to do that. Embercleave is a bit expensive. Now, we do have 4 blue sources with only 2 red sources. Do we want to get another red source on the board?
I mean, it wouldn't hurt at this point. I think at this point our mana is open. As long as we have our 2 blue sources, our 2 red sources, our 2 black sources.
I think
We
we're
cast whatever
pretty
we want.
much. Yeah. And so that's another thing is you just got a better show land.
Mm-hmm.
And things like this, a volatile forge is an island mountain, so they meet the reveal cost of the new show lands.
Now, does Lava Glide Pathway, will that rotate out when Strixhaven rotates in? What set is that from?
That's from the Zendikar set.
Okay.
So I think it would stay, maybe.
I'm not really sure. Chat.
I think Throne
experts?
of Eldraine would be a rotation.
I think
out.
it is Throne of Eldraine that comes out
so
next.
you lose Fabled Passage.
Okay. I mean, we still have Evolving Wild. Do we have Evolving Wilds in M21?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But those 4 show lands can take the place
Of the 4
because
Fabled
you're either
Passages.
opening up with a basic or you're going to open up with one of these tap lands. But worst comes to worst, it just enters the battlefield tapped. That's exactly what Fabled Passage was going to do anyway. Technically enters tapped. But I think we can just keep our mana open here unless there is.
Yep. At this point, we just want to play reactive.
Yeah. We will just keep fueling the yard for Croxa so we can use it multiple times, even if they do answer it. So they're gonna swing in for 2. It does look like they've been stuck on mana.
Yeah.
So that
Which
kind of
is usually the
stinks.
case with red Rakdos decks that run small creatures. You don't run a lot of lands in them.
I think that we can go ahead and play Croxa now.
Okay.
Just because we are at 14. Oh,
Why is it not allowing us to cast it? Is that a mistake? So 2 red mana, 2 black mana, 5 cards. Croxa counts as a card in the discard pile.
it does.
So there's only technically 4 there, so we can't escape. So we have to kill this if we want to do that.
Yeah. Now we are gonna get pinged because it did die.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna put us down at 12.
But that's fine. It's still gonna die, right? Yes.
I think that would only matter if it gave it a +1/+1 counter.
Counter. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would need to be a counter and not just a buff.
So we tapped one of our black sources, so we can't Croxa this turn, but that's fine. We can leave
Yeah.
our counters up.
Now we can Croxa.
Yep.
And we're left with a Saw It Coming or the negate.
So yeah, we just get rid of everything that's there. Nothing is super important to come back into the deck later.
No.
And that puts our 6/6 on the ground. That removes another card from their hand, unless they want to pay 3. Well, actually, no. Croxa is different. So you have to remove.
Yeah, you have.
You don't get to choose to take 3.
You remove, and then if you can't remove what is required, you take the 3.
Yeah.
You still have to remove, but if it's not the required one, you remove and take 3.
Mm-hmm. So keep that in
yes.
mind. If you do discard a land here, you're still going to take 3 damage.
Yep.
So what did we discard? Probably a spell. Was it a shock or something?
Yeah, it was a shock. Yep. Shock doesn't do a lot. We're at 14. It only puts us to 12. There is the 4th land. So they are going to be fighting their spells into an established board and a full hand. So that's the only part about missing your land drops, especially if you're a deck like this, like a small Rakdos burn type deck. You like
Fire Prophecy, so you're going to do 3 damage. That's
okay. They're getting to cycle a card out of their hand.
I have to assume there's a second one coming.
If there is, we have
we
an
have the
answer
counter
for it.
So
They do just get to cycle a card out of their hand, but I'm not too worried about that. So Kroxa already has 3 damage, so another one would be able to,
Okay.
and then we can
so we say
go ahead and tap blue
no.
or negate.
Absolutely not.
That way, in case anything were to pop up, we would still have the red open.
Okay,
Now we
crippling
just
fear. So it
hit for 6,
yeah.
and triggers the Kroxa. They have to discard. They discarded the Scorpion,
It
but
takes 6.
yeah, and the Scorpion didn't die. It got sent to the graveyard, so we're not pinged to buy it. Yeah, now we just have to see. They've been missing land drops. They missed land drops early, and they're fighting into an established board with a full hand of reactive spells. So this is kind of one of those positions where it's really rough. You would have to have multiple things that I have to answer, and it just doesn't look like they have the mana to do so.
And on the other side, we are getting all the mana we could ever need.
So
yeah.
we have a way to constantly be able to do it. And then, once per turn, Kroxa is just ripping a card out of your hand, and it's going to be shooting you for 3 if you're not meeting the requirement. So, it's just an additional damage. The clock has been extended, has been shortened exponentially because of, Mind Carver enters the battlefield, attach it to a creature you control. Creature gets +1. That's fine. They're getting cards out of their hand, but that still doesn't matter. Even if you have no cards in your hand, Kroxa still triggers. You have to discard. You can't, so you still get shot.
So what card was that they discarded?
It was Blood Chief's Thirst. Destroy target creature. So they wouldn't have been able to kick it because they need 2 black sources. The kicker cost is 2 and another black. So they had an answer for it, but they didn't have a land. Fetid Imp. That's fine.
We literally just frostbite it.
Yeah.
Go in for win. Yep,
Good game.
So we're still doing best of 3, right? So they'll get to sideboard and come back. We do not have a sideboard built for this deck, so we will not be sideboarding.
It doesn't look like they have either.
I think that Jace is counting on the fact that was a bad hand for him. He did not have the lands that he needed. He got starved out of the mana that he needed. So
we saw that.
I should have just played the other deck.
Yeah, you did have a removal spell, but he was literally just a single mana off. It would have been a 4 mana spell. He was on 3 red and 1 black, so he didn't have it. Now we're starting to see with this hand a lack of lands.
Yes, having 2 Narfies in hand is terrible. The Kroxa allows us to open up the board a little bit. The Valky definitely allows us to have some disruption into their hand.
Yeah.
But if we don't draw into a thrilling possibility or thrill possibility, whatever it's called, those Narfies are going to sit in our hand for quite a while, and we need some sort of draw to make this playable.
Yeah. And seeing as this is a very low slanted aggressive deck that we're playing against, these big spells doesn't do anything. Kroxa isn't going to stay on the board. It's not going to be able to hold off some of that pressure. And Valky does not do a good job trading, especially being a 2-1.
Exactly.
So I think this is one of the ones that we put back.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it mulligan, and I was going to be upset.
So we come back out with 4 lands. We have our 2 powerful draw spells and a Kroxa. I think this is the hand to go with. It doesn't give us a bunch of removal at all, but I do believe that we will draw into it with our draw spells.
I do think that with this hand, you could possibly tuck one of the lands away. The reason being is because you have a Behold the Multiverse and you have a Graven Lore.
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to scry and do something while also keeping the threat of Kroxa in your hand.
So if we go that pathway, we want to decide which of the lands that we want to chuck. Now, it is clear that our snow-covered island is only going to be providing to us a blue source.
Yep.
But that does empower the Graven lore further
Yes.
to let us dig further with its scry ability. And then the other two lands that we would have there, although they are dual and modal, they do not add anything to Graven lore. We can get our red spell. I think what we would do here is Fabled Passage into a red land.
Okay.
Get rid of the River Glide pathway, and then put the Clearwater pathway as its black alternative.
Okay.
That way we can Croxa on turn 2.
Okay. So we're gonna get rid of River Glide. Right. That's
Yeah,
the one.
I
Okay.
believe so.
And we play Fable Passage. And just pass the turn. Fable Passage also doing another important job of deck thinning.
Mhm.
Something that, there's a reason why fetch lands are played. Things like Fable Passage, Evolving Wilds have been played in standard decks, especially when those are used in multiple colors, able to fix your lands and thin your deck, especially. So we'll be able to work with that. We'll go ahead and take the 1, crack the Fabled Passage, and we're gonna get the red, correct?
Yeah, I would go down Snow-Covered Mountain there.
We just found our pathway, so that's actually super awesome.
Okay.
I think we can go ahead and play the Snow-Covered Island.
Okay, and then you
That
want
way
to behold the multiverse.
Behold, yeah. I was gonna say Clearwater, but I remembered that its opposite side is not. It's the black one, and we don't want to play that at blue because that would cut us off of our black source. So we're just gonna go ahead and foretell this Behold the Multiverse. So they've hit land drops so far. 1 damage, nothing too much.
Okay, so we pull it into a negate, so that does help us down the line a bit. We want to get our black source out probably now, just so we have all 3 colors on the field. I'm not so much worried about Croxa right now.
Yeah, no, I think that is one of the things. Once we start to develop and we've kind of attritioned ourselves into a better position that Croxa's better in, because it allows us to start hitting them with a sort of advantage that we need, like that. I don't know the word that I'm looking for. The back and forth kind of.
Yeah.
Plus, we need to cast this Behold the Multiverse.
Yeah, we need better cards
no
in our
reason
hand.
to really cast Croaks at this point. Attrition. That's the word that I was looking for. Attrition. The back and forth attrition of these decks. Serrated Scorpion, that's fine. It's just a 1/2, no haste.
Swinging in for 1 here.
Yeah.
2 mana open. Will they do anything with it?
Doesn't look like they will.
Oh,
Priorities pressed to us, so we go ahead and Behold the Multiverse.
I think we just want to get at least one of those lands away from us. Well, we have a land in hand, so
Yeah, we have a red source in hand, so I don't think that we need this one. Ice Tunnel would be okay, giving us our second black source. And we found a Heartless Act.
So, and then we draw into another land. So that does open up for our Graven lore. If we want to go untap lands, or if we want to do a tap land this turn, I'll possibly do some sort of removal at the end of their turn if they're not doing anything.
I think that we can do this and hold up a negate, just in case that they do have something that's a non-creature spell. I do think that we have to play it as the blue source.
Yes.
So Graven Lore is not going to be used for at least 2 turns. But Fetid Imp, I think that's okay.
And we do have removal for the entire board here, chat. So if we draw into a Crippling, Fear, Blood on the Snow, anything like that, we're destroying this board.
Yeah. And we have our draw step, and then we have possibly any other draw spell that we drew. Now, Ice Tunnel definitely has to come down here. Croxa really doesn't do much into this board. he doesn't stay, and we've only got 2 cards in the graveyard, so there's no really reason to play Kroxa. I think we just keep the Heartless Act up and the Negate up.
Yeah.
Now we are starting to get pinged a little bit, but everything's just 1. So the clock is a little bit slower, and they have just hit their 5th land.
They could be bringing out an Embercleave here.
Yeah. So that's where the Negate is extremely, extremely key.
So we got no Embercleave. We'll take some damage. Do we want to Heartless Act this turn just to stop some damage from coming through to us?
I think we can get rid of the Fervent Champion. That way, Embercleave has to be paid at its maximum cost.
Right.
And it just goes ahead and takes 1 off the board.
Okay, so we draw into a Fabled Passage.
Do we want to play the Volatile Forge forward, or...
Well, I think the play this turn is to get our Gravenlore out.
Yeah. And Fabled Passage can get us 1 more Snow Basic for that Gravenlore. So I think that's the way. Because the only other way would be to hold off and make sure that we use the Volatile Forward for it. So Fabled Passage basically represents 1 more on Gravenlore. Careless Celebrant, that's fine.
Coming in for 2.
Yeah.
Putting us at 10.
Now we do need to find something huge with this Gravenlore, a way to deal with all the creatures on the board. However, these creatures do float into damage. We'll be taking 2, 4 if we were able to out both of those other ones. So that's going to take us down to 10. So it would put us in 6.
Okay.
So we are starting to feel the heat. Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter what we pull here, right? But we probably want to go with...
I think we would want a black.
A black source?
Just because we've only got 1, 2, 3. We want to make sure that if we do cast something, we use enough mana for it. So 1, use blue.
Okay. So let us stick 4 cards deep here. I don't see us needing the lands at all.
Yeah.
Valky is a disruption. It can turn into a Tybalt on our next turn.
Yeah, I think on our very next turn, because we are at 6 lands.
But does Tybalt really help us there? Because it will exile one of their creatures if we wanted to exile it, or we can exile top cards of the deck and play something.
Yeah.
We won't be able to play it though on that same turn because we're spending all of our mana to cast Tybalt, and I think that will probably get us killed.
Yeah.
I think he probably has some answers in the hand to deal enough damage. Now that we're at 10,
yeah.
We definitely want to pull the Valky though. I mean, I would definitely think that it's something that needs to sit in our hand, depending on what else we can draw here.
Yeah.
So we'll draw 2 random cards. So basically, we're throwing ourselves at the mercy of the deck here. And we got 2 counters.
Who saw it coming?
And a Heartless Act. So we get our land out.
Give us our second red source. We can Heartless Act 1, play a Valky, hit another one, and then have mana up to protect Valky from a kill spell.
Yeah, that seems to be the play.
So we need to make sure that we tap correct here for Valky.
Let's see what you've got in your hand here, Jace. Okay, a shock, a prophecy, a dead weight. So Valky's dead.
Weight, yeah.
Valky's dead next turn. We just can't counter 2 spells coming through. We can force them to pay 2 spells though.
Yeah.
Which is very strong here. Yeah, I think we go along with our plan to Heartless Act something and saw it coming when they cast their first removal spell. It does the damage to a creature or planeswalker, or
To target creature or planeswalker. So we won't get shot from that one, but we would get from Serrated Scorpion. Serrated Scorpion does it to...
why did? Okay, that's what I was thinking. Why would you not shoot? Yeah, there we go. Correct choice.
So now we have their hand information. We know the shock. Shock basically is non-existent in their hand because we have the side coming for it. So we're not really worried about the 2 damage there. So we do still have some time on the clock, seeing as we'd only be taking 2.
Right.
Yeah, we'll take that all.
Grixis? Ooh, wait, never mind. That Titan is pretty dope. It is pretty
Yeah,
dope.
Croxa's pretty rough. If you
Dead weighted his own Scorpion to hit us for 2.
I think that's fine.
That puts us at 6. I don't see he can shock us or attempt to shock us.
Yeah, I don't think that does enough.
Now the imp is the only thing on the board that we would care about.
Yeah.
And we'll just remove it if we have to.
We can Croxa here. Because we have enough to bring it back, so next turn we would have a Croxa. Plus, it makes them get rid of 1 card in their hand.
Right.
Which, Deadweight's not doing anything. Fire Prophecy's not really doing anything.
They're going to hold on to that shot,
Yeah.
I would have to assume. Fish, how you doing, buddy? What are you doing at home? Is it fun at home? I wish I was at home.
Is it raining outside?
It was raining when I walked out there earlier.
Someone tell me if it's raining, because
Which is like
I have
fish
to
is
drive back
natural
at home in the rain.
and natural habitat.
So yeah, we have enough to hold up both a negate and a saw it coming. So if there were a creature to come down, we have answers for it. If they do,
Blood on the Snow will bring back one of our creatures or planeswalkers. Now, it cannot bring back Tybalt because Tybalt is a 7 mana cost,
Yeah.
and we can only at most pay 6. Do we have anything else in our discard? Well, Croaks is in our discard pile.
Croaks is in there.
But if we did that, it cannot. It sacrifices itself again.
It would rip a card out, but it keeps all the stuff in the graveyard so we could use it again.
Yes.
However, I don't think we have enough mana to do that yet. To do them both, and if we do cast that 2, 4, 6, we're only left with 2 mana. If this is either a haste creature or another thing, we're basically dead.
Yeah. I think we just have to play on defense here. I like the idea of getting our 6/6 out there, obviously to block. Well, it can't block a flyer anyway.
No.
And that flyer can give itself death touch, so it would just destroy Croaks.
However, Valky can see what else is in that hand.
It is only 1 card, though.
Yeah.
And
This
they're going to
is
be
rough.
drawing another card next turn. I think we just have to play defensively because we have 4 counter spells in our hand.
Yeah.
So Here
It
comes
was
the
a
mana.
land.
There goes 1. And it's our turn. Okay. We're going to get rid of their creature here.
So now we really do have to play defensive. So the Sawk coming almost has to immediately be burned on any creature, which we're fine with. We've got another one. That really doesn't matter.
Boot Nipper. Yeah. No, absolutely not.
However, if that is a second shock,
How's the
not
Magics
to
going?
use
The
it.
Magics are going really fun.
Yeah, they're going pretty good. Do we want to use Croxa here?
If we do that, we can only at most counter one spell, correct?
Yeah. Which I don't think that we're in the position to really force Croxa yet.
No.
Um,
Because they can get rid of the prophecy and they could possibly have 2 shocks in hand.
Yeah. Magic's is going all right. Tormentor's Helm, that's fine.
Yeah.
Whenever equipped creature becomes blocked.
We have
So
to
we
play a
keep
creature
finding
for that
lands.
to matter.
Yeah. We keep finding lands, and that's fine. That's what we want. We want more lands at this point. Frostbite is wonderful. I do think that we are still a few cards off or a little bit more reassurance from starting to push Croxa in.
Crippling Fear. So that's our board wipe. That doesn't matter anymore because the board has been wiped.
Yes. No fear in this dojo.
A second Crippling Fear.
I'll go ahead and tell you, I am a little scared. We are.
He has a lot of cards in his hand. It's not looking great for us here, chat. Thrill of Possibility. I said we get rid of one of those Crippling Fears, probably.
Yeah. Draw 2.
This is where we're
Love
going to
to hit
draw
a
2
land.
Narfies, guaranteed.
Oh, we hit a land
Oh,
and a second thrill.
yeah. I think if they don't play anything that's going to hurt us this round, we're just going to thrill. Okay, another creature. When it dies, it does 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. We
Yeah.
don't have a planeswalker or creature out, so we're just going to murder that. Sure, equip it. Right?
Yes.
Before it attacks, we want to do... Is it when it's attacking or when it's blocking?
When it's blocking, it deals 1 damage to defending player.
So when it becomes blocked. So it doesn't matter. We're just going to burn it away here.
I'll use the most mana efficient one, Frostbite. That way we have enough mana to respond to some of the things that are happening. That is fine.
Yeah, it still takes 3, so it will kill it.
Yeah. I think that we could get away with it if we thrilled here.
Yeah, I think the Crippling Fear is what is completely useless to us here.
Because Blood on the Snow is still good. We can get more.
It reanimates something
yes.
for us. So we drew into another Croxa and a Soul Shatter, and we draw into a land.
So now we can fire off this Croxa because it's the most mana efficient one, and it puts another card in the graveyard for the other one. So this has been a grind. This is going all the way in. This will probably be the last bit of the stream is trying to grind this one out. Yeah. I don't think that there's anything else that we really should worry about doing. I think we need to try and keep up as many spells as possible.
And at this point, I have to assume Jace is just waiting for his shocks.
Yeah.
Just to pull as many of them as he can into his hand and then actually send them flying at us. Mind Carver, sure. Another land. We've drawn every land in the deck, chat.
Every single one of them. So, is this deck's WinCon deck out? It is not, unfortunately.
We actually haven't drawn the win cons. I mean, Croxa can win the game by himself, obviously, but Turgid is a good combo with that. Getting the Tybalt out is a good combo with that. Yeah, say goodbye to your creature.
And so they have to sacrifice it. It's not being destroyed. Soul Shatter, a very good card. Very, very good card. Especially with what you said, with there being hexproof, ways to protect yourself from it.
I love it because it chooses the biggest mana cost one, right? So you don't have to deal with the fact that you have to target the large creature. It forces your opponent to target their large creature. Serrated Scorpion. I don't think we can let that hit the field.
Yeah. just because when it dies, it does do damage to us, and that's something that we can't have because Blood on the Snow would kill it.
Mm-hmm. Turgrid finally comes to light. So, do we cast her and then try to play defense?
I think that we could.
She is a 5 mana cost. We definitely have the mana open after that for our negates. But they're going to get a creature down. But depending on what creature it is, we can force them to sacrifice it and get it on our side of the
Yep. Yeah, we wanted to tap a certain way. That way we make sure that we have as many blue sources up as possible.
Man, I miss Gearhulk.
Oh, I miss Torrential Gearhulk so much. Torrential Gearhulk, Thing in the Ice, Harness Lightning, back the energy mechanic. Oh my goodness. Whew. Such a good deck. Shota Yasuoka did such a good job at the Pro Tour.
Fervent Champion.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's going to deal 1 damage when we block it. And then that's going to give it... What does that one give it?
Makes it a 5/3. It kills our Turgrid. But we trade. Ooh, that sucks.
That's fine.
He has a shock in hand. Is he actually going to use it for the Turgrid? He's going to hold it for us. He's thinking about it. I see you thinking about it. Oh, yeah, well, we're not going to let
Yeah, we have to save it.
This is the part where we find out that he's cheating, that he's got a lightning bolt somewhere.
He did have 2 shocks in his hand, so he's made us burn them all.
That could potentially be game. We block here. We take 1 damage. We go down to 3.
Yeah.
We no longer have counters in our hand, so it's up to him to top deck something crazy. Wait, why didn't that? It has First Strike.
Yes.
Ah, yes. So we just Blood on the Snow and get our Turgrid back, huh?
Yeah.
So we want to pay our snow mana here.
And I think that's really all we can do. We
Yeah.
don't want to sacrifice a creature. We could put a Croaks onto the board. We don't have anything else that we're doing.
I mean, we definitely can, and it's going to hit them for 3 when it hits the ground, so. We have nothing we can respond to them on their turn with, so.
Yeah.
And it really does not matter what we choose here. Because by the time the clock would come out to put our graveyard back in our deck, there's no way we stay alive that long with 3 health.
And so now we are representing at the least 10. And
Okay.
they hit a land.
We hit a land too, so let's go ahead and hit them. This is going to be 13 overall.
Yeah. So they have to have something that hits us for exactly 3. Good game. We did it. And just in time. Oh,
Did we?
we got it. But we did have to work for every bit of that.
Yes, absolutely. But that's what I like about this Grixis deck. It can set itself up to have an answer for absolutely everything. Yes, Blood on the Snow is busted.
Absolutely.
A lot of people told me that it wasn't a good card because it's 6 mana cost, right? But to be able to get something back that may be 6 mana cost from your graveyard like that, it's a strong play. I'm only running 2 copies of it because there are 2 copies of Crippling Fear as well. The idea there is if they're running a bunch of small creatures that aren't tokens within the 3 toughness level, when Turgrid is on the field and you Crippling Fear and you choose God, you wipe their field, Turgrid takes nothing, and then she just takes all of those non-token creatures on your side of the field and builds you back up. Send Garruk's Wake 9 and you get a creature back for 6. It's in Garruk's Wake.
In Garruk's Wake was a big board wipe
Yes.
from ages ago, moons ago.
But I just think it is a strong card. It gives a little bit of a reanimator feel to the deck to where we can get some things back.
And that's really good, especially with the ability to put stuff into the graveyard at such an enormous rate that we're seeing Strixhaven do, especially out of the black and green side of things. I think that's really key. So you could possibly dump some creatures that you're not normally going to cast or normally want to cast, and Blood on the Snow can just bring them back, and you don't have to pay anything into doing so.
Exactly. So when I went out to the floor today to talk to Logan about what we were going to do for the show today, we did talk about one of our segments being Fix Grixis. And I came back to my desk and I couldn't stop thinking about what we could do to fix Grixis. How do we make this deck more, have more responses, have more threats that actually matter on the board? Which brought me to, I've been wanting to run Turgid Control for a while. I like the idea that she's modal. She can turn herself into the Bell, which the Bell will cause them to lose 3 HP, or they sacrifice a permanent or discard a card. And if they discard a card while Turgid is up, if it's a permanent card, it comes to your side of the field. That's super powerful by itself. You add that with Kroxa, who forces them to discard a card, or they'll if they discard a land, they take 3 damage, and you get that land if you have Turgid up as well. My favorite addition to the deck so far, though, was Narfi Betrayer King. So we didn't see this card come up in our games, just because we're only running a 2 copy of him, and most likely he was at the very bottom of the deck. But if you have a Narfi, the fun play that I've ran into this deck is turn 1, you have your Frostbite, so you get rid of whatever creature they have. Turn 2, you throw a possibility at the end of their turn and get rid of your Narfi. Turn 3, you have a 4/3 on the field that's recurring, that comes back every time they kill them unless they decide to exile them. Which usually they can't do until turn 4. So it does feel really powerful to have the 4/3 coming back over and over again, especially since you can cast that on their turn. And have it ready to swing on your turn.
Not saying you can only activate this ability at sorcery speed is extremely relevant because, like you just said, it does put a 4/3 that's ready to push the clock forward. And if your opponent just overlooked the graveyard and didn't calculate for there being a 4/3 ready to come back, it can really throw them into having to burn multiple spells or tap a certain way or do things a certain way, and then you're going to your turn and you've put them in a predicament. They've either had to answer it then, didn't leave the right mana up, or they used so much of their resources to answer it on their turn, and then you're just free to play on yours.
Exactly. It is a little disheartening that we don't get to use his other ability where it gives other zombie or snow creatures +1/+1. I did play around with the deck a little bit with Faceless Haven in there, and it does power up Faceless Haven to a 5/4. Which is really nice for a land to come out for 3 mana at 5/4. But it throws our mana off too much to have those colorless mana cards. The deck is really difficult right now. As we were looking over our spells, we do have a lot of lands that come in untapped, but they're modal lands. And if we make the wrong decision with those lands and we decide to keep a red source over a black source or a blue source over a black source, we run into one of our double black cards or double blue cards, we're in a lot of trouble.
And that's why dual lands are so important, is they give you this flexibility to be able to play these spells earlier and not constrict your mana. The modal lands are great. I think that they're wonderful, but they don't do the justice of a land producing 2 colors. I can't state to you how important that is. And you were talking about Faceless Haven. It only taps for colorless.
Right.
That's basically like you're playing a 4-color deck, essentially. You can produce 4 colors. It doesn't give you any mana of a certain color, so it's not making your mana any better. It's not fixing your mana for you, especially in a deck where you're already strung for 3 colors. having lands that don't produce or can't get you a colored source just makes it even harder.
Yeah.
Sure, it's a 4/3. Sure, it can block, it can attack, it can push the damage, but it's not really doing any justice. It's just not.
More sharks. So you will see there is a copy of Shark Typhoon in the deck. There were 2 copies. It does seem like it's a little bit of a random addition there, but when you're in a control matchup or you're in a match that does tend to go a lot longer, if you can get a Shark Typhoon out, you basically just win. There's nothing they can do to respond to it unless they remove it from the board, and then you have so many instant and sorcery spells that are removal spells that are creating creatures for you. It just gets out of hand really fast. I do wish that we could put more copies of Shark Typhoon in the deck, and we could, lower maybe a counter spell or maybe one of the Frostbites. But I do feel like Frostbite is super strong early on in the game. That it just may be too powerful to let go for such a late game card. But yeah, that's my version of Grixis Control. I've looked over tons and tons of different lists. I've tried putting things together, smashing cards together to see if they'll work. Everyone kept telling me on Reddit, don't put Turgid in the deck. Turgid will not help you. Turgid won't do anything. But Turgid and Kroxa are too powerful of a combo for me to just turn a blind eye to. Yeah. It just works. And when it works way too well. Feel free, chat. If you like this deck list, we will post it in the Discord. We'll most likely do a YouTube video about the deck list as well coming up. Okay, Howard. Okay, Fish. If you guys like what you guys see here today, make sure you guys hit that follow button. We are live just about every day. The only days we don't stream right now are Monday and Tuesday and Sunday. But that's probably scheduled to change at some point in the future. Tomorrow we will have Troll versus Toad round 4.
Round 4, I believe it is Mark and Kodiak. So that is, I think it's either Chaos Control or it's Goat Control. I can't remember which one. Versus Last Turn, the deck that I really wanted to play. But yeah, like Last Turn can just win on turn 1. So I'm super excited to see it. Super excited to see how that turns out. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff going on just about every day of the week. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow, Thursday.
Yep. So tomorrow, Thursday, we have our Goat Control, Troll versus Toad, which is our Yu-Gi-Oh format. Next format coming up, chat. We are a couple of weeks out from that, but we are going to be doing a Magic format. The format that I have decided on for it is we are going to make our own blocks.
Oh.
So the chat will get to decide what core block they want us to play with, or core set they want us to play with. So M21, M20, whatever. And then we will choose 3 sets from anywhere in the Magic Stratus to make into our own block. So definitely stick around for that when it comes up. You'll see some stuff in Discord. If you guys don't already follow the Discord, join the Discord. We were in there talking every day. So funny story. I've been fighting my laptop all night and I had to make a new Twitch account, Chris the Collector. I wonder who that is.
Isn't that the guy that was supposed to dance? I don't know if he did dance.
I think he was supposed to dance, but I don't believe he did.
Or no, that may be the guy that ate too many pork rinds. I think
that might be one and the same guy.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, our socials. Thank you. It's actually just social. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, soon to be TikTok, and our YouTube. Also ripped my laptop. Did you break it? Did you throw it around? Make sure you're following us for daily deals and news. We give alerts whenever we have new shows coming up. I'm not a witch. I can't spell.
Huh?
I really wish you just wouldn't say things like that, Fish. Friday, we have another Magic stream coming up for you guys. Magic or MTG with Jeremy, where he's going to be most likely finishing out probably some drafts, and we may talk about some more Commander decks. I was telling you guys before, we're trying to get 4 commander decks built before we're going to do our first commander stream. He's already built 2 of our commander decks. Logan is writing up a little bit of a report on the Rakdos deck that's will be coming to you guys soon. And then he'll most likely ask you guys what you want us to run for our 3rd and 4th commander deck. So make sure you guys stick around and let him know what you want to see us play.
You definitely want to see Dragon Lord Ojutai. Please tell him that you want Dragon Lord Ojutai. Please. I want it so bad. It's the
So
best
if you want to
card
make this
ever.
account a moderator, I'll probably just use this account now. I will make it a moderator, but we're going to do it on the next show just because we're trying to get out of here. We're already like 10 minutes late. I bet my wife is in the parking lot screaming her head off. I just want to thank you guys so much for coming out. I appreciate you guys watching all the streams. It means the world to me that we've been as successful as we have with all of these streams and had so many people that are invested in them. Panda, Fish, seeing you guys, all the regulars, Germs, Mouse, all you guys coming out over and over and over again to any of these streams, it really warms my heart. So I appreciate seeing you guys there. We will be back next Wednesday with more standard stuff. We may throw in another deck. I know that Logan likes the colors blue-white, so we'll probably try and pivot and see if we can build a decent blue-white deck with what we've got. Other than that, I've been Kelly. You guys can find me online of my handle at Bearded Tortle, Tortle. Logan, you have anywhere that people can see you or hear what you got to say?
Not really. Not much of a Twitter or anything guy. You can actually find me in the Discord at AF Skies, SKYZ. But that's really the only other place. I have all those Yu-Gi-Oh deck lists if you wanted them. I've actually got a lot of blue-white Magic list, one that I'm looking forward to play. So if you guys wanted a sneak peek at some of that, you guys just feel free to reach out to me. That's where I'm at. So
Logan's got you set for your deck list, chat.
Sure does.
Hit the man up with your questions. Other than that, chat, we're going to go ahead and let you go. I'll throw us over to our ending screen so you guys can see this terrible ad that I have to watch over and over and over and over again. But I will catch you guys next time. You guys have a great night.